at the moment. And we're incredibly fortunate to have Gowan Bush co-located with the Department of Mines and Energy in Darwin and based in the Northern Territory as our Senior Engagement Coordinator, Northern Australia. And with Gowan on board, that gives us a greater opportunity to connect in person and on the ground to support the transitions that are underway out of mining, but also help people, communities, and organisations think through what they can do now and in the future as they look to new mining development. And with that, I'll hand back to Gowan and Beck.
Shall I keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
Perfect.
So yeah, we're obviously only got a bit of limited time because we know you're obviously very busy people. The aims of the session today is just to give an introduction to those that don't know who we are and what CRC time is about. I guess sharing some of the existing tools and resources and when potentially to look at using them. And open and free discussion on priority topics of interest for Northern Australia region. So that's another main aspect. It's not just us telling you about information, but if there's gap areas, opportunities, challenges that you're facing, letting us know what they are so that, for future projects or anything that we're aware of in this space, we can share information with all of you. And then obviously identifying future opportunities to get involved with projects and research works, whether it's as a host, a case study, a potential financial partner, all that sort of stuff moving forward into project work that we do into the future. Corporate, that's Jim. Yeah.
That's back to me. So I get most of the people on the call are already familiar with CRC time. So I don't want to go over it too much again, but I did just want to highlight a couple of points that I think are relevant in terms of the conversation we're having now. So we're a cooperative research centre, and that means we're an independent research organisation that was established with the commitment of funds from the Commonwealth, as well as with financial commitments and in-kind contributions from an incredible array of partners across the mining, METS, regions, community, government, and other sectors. One thing that we really wanted to emphasise in today's discussion is we now have staff based in Mackay, but also Gowan in Darwin, as well as staff in Perth, Brisbane, and Adelaide. And with that, we also have strong networks and connections in different regions across Australia. When people think research, they think a whole range of different things. We like to think and we hope we are really focused on applied research that people can take up and use, and that in the process of developing it, there's some people are part of it, and they're also getting something out of the development process itself. One reason that we're hosting today's session is just to emphasize what we're producing through the research projects. So we often talk about the projects we're developing, and of course we'd love you to consider getting involved, but we wanted to show you some of the resources, data sets, decision-making tools, strategies, and partnerships that have already been developed and are now available for your use, and how else we plan to make those available over time. Next slide, thanks, Beck. I think we've already covered this, but I'll just mention a little bit more. So we're really fortunate to have projects and engagement located across Australia, and that doesn't mean that also means on-ground pilots in a number of different regions. And pilots are important because a lot of strategies haven't always been tested in field, and we hope that's what makes us a little bit different. For example, in the Bowen Basin, I was having a conversation today, and there's planning underway to do a pilot of some communications resources, of visualization tools and other materials to help planning about mine pit lakes. And in the Pilbara, we've also had an on-ground trial of climate-adapted provenancing strategies to help meet the native seed challenge. Furthermore, and they're just some examples, we're also really fortunate to be expanding our presence or our engagement in the Hunter Valley, and that will be particularly important in the work we're doing in coal transitions. Over time, we've got projects in Southwest Western Australia, South Australia, Tasmania, and Victoria as well. Next slide, thanks, Beck. For those who haven't seen it, we will pop this in the chat and we will send it out with the recording afterwards. But we do have our 2025 to 2027 strategy. So we're bang in the middle of it now. And what that did was take what was our wider program of work during our initial phases, where we were bringing together the knowledge that had been considered knowledge about mine closure and transitions from a really diverse array of sources to create the first of its kind knowledge base and foundation. We also then established some big major projects on some of the key risk points across the mining life cycle, and that could also really impact the ability to transition to next land use, as well as economic, social, and environmental change. For example, that foundation work led to our $10 million investment, financial and in kind, in addressing the challenge of acid mine drainage, as well as a $5 million investment in addressing the challenges associated with pit lakes. It's also then led to work on looking at how closure is currently costed as part of the planning process, work on the native seed supply chain, which we know there's a lot of challenges in meeting demand, the business case for asset transfer. So yesterday we had the pleasure of, with Enviromets, launching the PMLU options assessment tool, which is now available for download and is really the testament to work of many, many people who were a part of testing and trialing. It also then led to now a narrower focus on our work on policy and regulation, with a project due to start off to develop national mine closure and transition principles and a supporting framework with different government officials. Work on regional scale outcomes. So looking at, well, what are the pieces of good planning for different types of transitions, and what are those building blocks, and how do we make that information available to others? And we're really excited about RCAM pilots in the Pilbara and the Southwest coming up. And then finally, the supply chain and education and workforce. We'll include this in the chat and in the mail out afterwards. Next slide. Thanks, Beck. This is a really busy graph, so I'm not going to go into it too much now, but I will just highlight a couple of points that I do encourage you, if you get a chance, to maybe take a bit of additional time to look at. The first one is on your left, is the social and economic value piece. So part of the reason we exist in this as a CRC is because for a long time, and I know I was part of it, mine closure was looked at from largely an environmental point of view, which is really important given the disturbances and impacts associated with mining. However, it meant that we didn't always, as a sector and as a wider ecosystem, think about how we could integrate the social and environmental aspects into that, and as well as how do you plan better for socio-economic transitions, which we know are a feature when mines are planning and come to the end of their life. You'll see that there on the other side is, and it's a bit tricky because we've got green on one side and orange on the other, and there's a reason for that. But the next part is, how do you look at nature planning from a regional as well as a site-by-site perspective? Because that may help open up more opportunities to repurpose and reuse different forms of infrastructure. There's different elements as part of it here, and I'm not going to go into it fully, but it is about showing in a different way the importance of considering the various dimensions of closure rather than in isolation. Next slide, thanks, Beck. As always, we're a research centre. We like to have lots of lists of things that we've done, but a couple of things that I wanted to highlight is some recent announcements or recent releases. A Mine Pit Lakes project. So we have just recently released, well, we didn't, but the project team released the first type of categorisation of its kind of about 2,000 mine voids and pit lakes from across Australia based on satellite and other data. And that data set will then start to help looking at how they can be better managed, but what are the potential repurposing opportunities associated with that? We've done work on mine closure guidance. We have, led by Aboriginal Enterprises in Mining, Energy and Exploration, a survey and analysis of the Indigenous mine closure solutions industry and how to really unlock those procurement opportunities for Indigenous enterprises. Another item just to highlight is the Atlas suite. So looking at a water atlas, a post-mining futures atlas, and sites for renewable energy generation. Next slide, thanks, Beck. I'm going to hand over to Gowan and Beck now.
No worries, thanks. Yeah, so this is just a quick snapshot, I guess, on recent on the ground
Activities.
activities. Yeah, sorry, it's covered on our side. For Northern Australia. There's a bit of duplication across the various regions, but that's because of the nature of the projects. I'll just touch on some for some of the sites. Well, you can see them there. Northern Australia. Northern Territory had the 2025 annual forum up here. I think it was last September, October.
Yes.
Around then.
Yes.
Restoring a country seminars, which are very useful, particularly for First Nation Aboriginal corporations, and sharing information around their experiences and learnings, but also global learnings that are applicable through industry, government and regions alike. I think the last one had the Gilganian story and really focused in on what their challenges, opportunities, and I guess learnings are from their processes that they're doing in the mine transition and closure just recently and to the day. Values in post-mine transition. So we're doing a bit of scoping work and some activity where we've gone out to Gove and Groot just around, I guess, finding out from them firsthand what experiences they're going through right now, where they're at in the process, and just bringing that back in board for our research group and our internal colleagues to basically get a bit of an understanding and a finger on the pulse with the issues out there at the moment. The Pilbara, we've got some stakeholder readiness tool for the RCENE, which is the Regional Cumulative Effects Assessment
And
management tool. I always get them.
We've got a lot of acronyms in this organisation.
And then we've got the Indigenous framework development, which is also occurring and is another stage. It's going to be a little bit more focused. And as Gillian said before, whilst we obviously have some sites that are tied into the original pilot sites for RCENE, there will be some potential scope to broaden that in and around the Northern Australia area in particular. So if there's people interested in partaking in that, please let us know. Land rehabilitation trials and pilots are occurring out at the Pilbara, and Mine Pits, Lakes and Water project is also occurring there. In the same vein, Southwest has both those projects occurring and the Indigenous RCENE framework development. So the two pilot sites there, as you can see from that, are in those sites where they were developed. But as I said, further expansion into the next stage will be occurring. So if there are people, let us know and we can talk to you about what those opportunities look like moving forward. In Queensland, I think Gillian mentioned it a bit earlier, did she, with the AusIME ESG Critical Mineral Partnership? If not, yeah, we will be sending out information. I think she started sending some of that out to some of the stakeholders already regarding the guidance and the capability series and Sustainable Mining Communities Hub. We had the launch of the optimisation assessment tool for post-mine land usage yesterday, which was well attended. And obviously the tool that's been developed on the website, which will be talked on a bit later. And thank you, Gillian, for sending some of that stuff through online. Algae-based technologies and native seed trials being undertaken in Queensland. Bowen Basin in particular, regional employment forecasting tool piloting and regional assessment. National Pit Lakes Initiative, which they're also a part of, and the land rehabilitation trial. Another one that's sort of quite new and it's been quite well received from most of the stakeholders because it's quite prevalent across this whole Northern Australia and Australia, is the Australian Water Atlas for Resource Extraction. Case study and prototype was developed in Mount Isa in the region in and around there. And we will be touching on that resource a little bit if we've got time today.
So what's coming up?
So this is what's coming up, in the next 6 to 12 months in particular. Northern Territory, for those that you aren't aware and those that you are, it's been postponed due to what's been going on with fuel and in the world. It was meant to actually be this week. It's been postponed to November 10th and 12th. It will be the First Nations Mine Closure and Transition Summit, the inaugural one. It will have a case study on the Rum Jungle project. It'll also include some other papers and that, which will be, coming out publicly in the next couple of weeks. So watch this space around what the topics will be during that summit, and it'll be on the website, which we will share with everyone at a later date once it's public knowledge. We're doing some work, as I touched on earlier, with Gove and Groot, to capture what's happening there, but also to talk about topics of interest so we can potentially work with them in the future a little bit closer, given that their journey is fast approaching operational end and moving, into the closure post-mine land usage story of their journey now. We're planning on holding a Northern Australia post-mine land usage symposium in 2027, probably around April, May we're looking at, up in Darwin. For those of you that are around Darwin or can get to Darwin, and vice versa, we're probably doing it online as well, some sort of presence there so we can share and get that story out and messaging out to everybody. Pilbara Regional Cumulative Effects Assessment and Management. So that next stage will be happening in that particular area, as I mentioned earlier, with potential scope with the IR seam as well to be rolled out across Northern Australia. Further expansion on the National Pit Lakes Initiative that's already been done. Enabling tenure regime case studies is occurring. Continued testing, provincing of strategies in the field. In Queensland, tenure case studies are occurring there. Further post-mine land use options assessment tool development occurring there as well. And then the Bowen Basin, against the expansion of the National Pit Lakes Initiative, technical study, community engagement, visualisation of the tool pilot and testing to refine what's already been developed. And algae-based technologies. So there's some work being done there too, and policy and regulatory pathways. And again, further work in refining the WARE Atlas, water atlas with the Western Australian region as well, and expanding that prototype.
So there's a lot happening and a lot coming up. We meant to say, if you would like to ask any questions, just raise your hand. This is an open thing. We've made it particularly not like a webinar, so we can have a meeting, and we're happy to hear from you in person, so to speak, asking any questions. So just raise any hands if anything comes up and you want more information. Next is our toolkits. We've had a lot of interest in our toolkits, and this is a way for us to package up what we're creating. There are a lot of resources that kind of come out of a research centre. We obviously, as a CRC, we work in collaboration with industry, and so we're testing out what we're making as we create it. But our toolkits are a way to chunk up what we've created. So in themes. So there's information, there's papers and tools and resources and data sets on mine closure, post-mine land use, and we're going to be doing, there's also regional collaboration and planning, and we're going to be doing a few more. So just talking you through the highlighted three are what we already have on our website, and I'll talk you through them. We have a mine operations and closure planning toolkit, a post-mine land use and asset use suite, and a regional collaboration and planning toolkit. So those are the three that we're starting with. Land rehabilitation is coming up too, and we'll have toolkits and suites of the others. It's just a way, it's a more accessible way to take on the amount of resources that are coming out of the CRC. So depending on where you are, what you need, what your role requires, over time, you might need different things. You can access these as you've required.
And it should be worth noting too that with those toolkits and some of that information, we are also trying to adapt into like shorter form versions of fact sheets and summary sheets, just so we can break down some of that, but making sure we, I guess, encapsulate the major learnings and findings from each bits of reports or resources that are available and tools around the purpose of that and the messaging.
And we've also rewritten them in accessible language as well, everyday language, to take out the jargon for regional communities, particularly to empower them to know what questions to ask, what they'll need, and so forth. So we're figuring out different different things for different audiences. And if there's anything that's missing or that you need, please yell out and we'll try and fill the gap. First off, regional planning, governance and collaboration toolkit. Did you want to go through this one, or shall I can
keep going. You seem to be in.
Yeah, all right. So regional planning, governance and collaboration. So I've got the link in there. You're welcome to, maybe Julian might put it in the chat. You're welcome to browse them as I'm talking. But currently, the online toolkit on regional planning includes data sets. We've got a suite of regional planning processes for different purposes. We have case studies, and this is what people have asked us. Give us some case studies. We want to know on the ground, some real examples. We have Latrobe Valley, Bowen Basin, Bell Bay, Gove, Southwest WA, and others. We have webinars on regional planning, particularly for regional folks and working in the regions, and some planned projects that are coming up too. So just browse it, and it's a sort of, I consider it a kind of menu of options that you can order and click through and get whatever you need. And for the regional planning, I mean, these are some guiding considerations. So we're trying to encourage people to move from site scale to regional scale, look bigger, not just the mine site, but what's happening in the region. I mean, this is a photo of Latrobe Valley from the top as an example. This is a region in transition, and those transitions affect something wider than its site, right? The people and where they live and their lives. So looking bigger is one guiding consideration. Considering mine closure as a bridge between what currently is and what it could be. Mine closure is in the middle, but the transition from mine closure to what it can be opens up a lot of opportunities. So we're taking the opportunity view. And of course, we acknowledge that there are a lot of changes over time. I mean, mining, it takes place over a lot of time, but closure can also take place over a lot of time. Planning for closure from the beginning to the end, I mean, that could be many generations. Different rights holders and stakeholders with different roles, they're coming in and out, they might be moving in and out, and the expectations that people have change over time too. So we know that, and we use that to guide our work.
Some of the things that come out of even this week and over some discussions with Gove and Groot is like Beck just touched on, is the life of mine, but ensuring that closure is at the starting point of the discussion when agreements are being struck, so that it's at the forefront. And given the life of mine could be 50, 60 years, ensuring that the other generations are involved. So making sure you've got periodical check-ins as you go along on that journey through life of mine.
We use people as our guiding principle as well. Positive transition is about values. It's about what matters to people in an area at a given point in time. There are lots of different approaches for different purposes. I mean, depending on what you're working on, there's different ways to approach, there's different data sets that you might need. And we know that it's a complex beast, and we see the complexity, and that's why the CRC was created. There are many benefits to consider, of course. So value comes in many different forms. You have from nature to culture to business and money to community. Value can be considered in different ways. And actually, this ties in with the post-mine land use assessment tool post-mine land use options assessment tool that we launched yesterday, and we'll put the link in the chat if it's not already. That tool can be used to measure the different benefits and values of different potential post-mine land uses. So you can see the options side by side with the same sort of measurements, I suppose, and sort of plan around that and see the bigger picture from different values. Yeah. So what? I'm not going to read all this, but what's already in the toolkit, I mean, you can browse it. We have quite a few things that are already added in there on regional planning, regional cumulative effects and management, and this is based for the regions. That's an RCEAM process roadmap, that came out of one of our reports. So there's a lot of already there, and there's a lot that's going to come as well. So we have workforce and economic transformations. Yeah, and then we've got sharing knowledge across regions, and we've got the new the project, the Regional Knowledge Exchange. If you wanted to mention that, we piloted a Regional Knowledge Exchange already, and we've got some planned as well.
Yeah, that's another project that potentially, it's in relation to people wanting to host and be involved. There's some opportunity in that area as well as I guess further building on the pilot sites that we've already been on as well. But there is opportunity over the course of, I think, the 3-year lifetime of that project to be involved, because there'll be 4 locations picked, and that we'll be working closely with. It'll involve some online chats as well as some face-to-face chats, so people can actually firsthand live and breathe the experience and learn on a firsthand face-to-face sort of exposure, as well as online, and sharing periodical check-ins through that process as well.
As an independent research centre, as a trusted sort of independent party, the more time goes on, we're in our 6th year now, the more time that goes on, the more we realise that it's the bringing together of people that is one of our biggest mandates, really, and potential achievements as well. So the networks that will continue after the CRC is finished, or whatever it turns into, that's the main thing around the country that will really stay, I think. And these knowledge exchanges to, get Latrobe Valley folks to speak to Bowen Basin folks, to then speak to Gove folks. These places are very unique in their own way, but they're transitioning as well. And there are some similarities and opportunities to share. What have you done in here, and what would you do differently? How would you redo things? So these knowledge exchanges are a really good way to share that info. And a lot of webinars and case studies are online as well. RCM, I might just continue on, knowing that time's passing. To the next toolkit. So mine operations, water and closure planning toolkit. This is the operationalizing side of things. So maybe Gillian might put that in the chat. Our toolkit currently has a lot of reviews and rankings of mine closure guidance documents, mining methods, landforms and closure. So there are challenges in biophysical closure and landform stability, and you can look at that evidence-based work. Lots of resources on, AMD and pit lakes. These are challenges that we can see across the country, and we can all learn from each other. And natural capital accounting resources as well, including case studies and practical guidance. So feel free to browse that as I'm prattling on. Oh, that's it. That's very, very large. So I'm just going to give you, that's just a quick snapshot. And the third is the post-mine land use toolkit. So this is thinking about what mined land can transition into. So identifying potential land, asset and waste repurposing options. We know from one of our most popular reports that it's predicted from 2023 that about 240 mines will close by 2040. That's a huge number, and that opportunity can be unlocked. We have beneficial uses for pit lakes and mapping mine voids and pit lakes and so forth, and lots of tools on PMLU, which is post-mine land use, and the water atlas. Sorry, that image is tiny. I apologize for not making it bigger. Residual risk is a question something we're often asked about. We've recently published the report and fact sheet for project 2.10 on residual risk. Check that out if that's something you're currently working on. Finance is another one. Who's going to invest in post-mine land uses? Investment strategies, alternate finance options and things like that, especially on the Indigenous estate as well. And policy and regulation, of course, because tenure is a big issue with PMLU. We are working on a tenure toolbox and a policy roadmap as well to bridge mine closure and post-mine transition. So that's coming. This is the CSIRO report on the right there that was very popular and published in 2023. These are the opportunities for Australian industry, and it goes into real in-depth opportunities for the mine closure services. I might, if Gillian's still online, I might bring you back, Gillian, to talk about the PMLU Options Assessment Tool and the launch.
Thank you, everyone, and thanks for everyone for staying online as we go through some of the materials that are already been developed, but also just to signpost activities that are underway. Yesterday, we were really excited to work with Enviromets to launch a PMLU options assessment tool. And the tool really is it's intended to step you through, or users through a process to go from a set of possibilities to a set of potential plausible options for post-mine land use. As we know, there's always many ideas about what you can do in with different sites and assets and infrastructure, but it is really important to look at it and to have a process to step through, well, what is plausible and what are the views of different stakeholders and rights holders as part of this, and how do they see different options? The tool itself, and I'll just set this in context, is part of a broader investment that's possible through to the support of our partners and in helping to shift the dial between post-mine land use being a possibility to making it a reality where it's appropriate to do so. What's unique about this tool, and we're huge credit to the project team that developed, Brian Maybe, Ross, Ian, and other from Environments and others, and the many people involved in testing, is that the tool itself allows you to do a qualitative and a quantitative assessment, and it also provides you with a facilitation guide to really work with different stakeholders and rights holders as you step through the process. I will mention that it is at the P50 version, so we are in the process now of seeking partners and collaborators to get it to a P80 version of accuracy or development. So if you are interested in piloting, please let us know. What's also important to know in this respect is it also allows us to integrate some of the work across our other projects. So thinking about this in the context of pit lakes and thinking against it in other contexts. And that's really the benefit of a cooperative research centre. We have the space and time, although it's running out, to really look at the different PMLU issues in detail and then bring them together in a cross-portfolio approach. We'll be looking at different ways of rolling out more information about the tool, so please let us know. And if you are interested in getting a recording from yesterday's launch, just pop your name and comment in the chat. Thanks, Beck.
Thanks. I think I put this one in, Gillian, because I love this, this diagram. Actually,
I'm not going to go through this.
No, not at all. I just love that. So you can see in the blue, you have lots of alternative ideas. So you might be looking at, will it be farmed land? Will it be, you know, I don't know, camping or tourism or whatever, if it allows for that. Your situation, and then it reduces down to feasible alternatives, and that's a really good kind of funnel down to some real options. So anyway, sorry, I put that in there. I love that one. It also reminds me of a I don't know if it's from Star Wars, but one of the ships, anyway, I don't know where it reminds me of space.
I might just run through, if you don't mind, Beck, I might just run through this, the projects that we have coming up. So we are testing the concept of a PMLU symposium focused on Northern Australia in early to May next year, with the idea of, we have our annual forum in Adelaide in October. So if you're not registered, please look at joining us. But we do also see the need or the opportunity to have something more Northern Australia focused and to bring together the lessons across the north of the country. With this in mind, we are looking at, we are currently seeking input and involvement in projects on identification of new investment and finance strategies and mechanisms to actually get the investment that you need to bring a post-mining land use opportunity to life. And there's further work on valuing and managing residual risk, and that includes looking at developing a common terminology so that global practitioners are speaking the same language, looking at how to bring to some statistical analysis on different potential valuation mechanisms, principles that can be applied in different contexts, and then also a series of guidance notes and case studies. And we're really looking for people that are interested in this work, but may also be looking at piloting that as it goes along. I will just mention, I'm going to leave the atlases. I'll go back to Beck for this, but just to reiterate as well, thank you to everyone. And I know there was a lot of people across Northern Australia that were part of interviews that were undertaken by Amy, but also helped us promote the survey, the Indigenous Mine Closure Solutions Industry Survey. I think we were over 50 responses last time I checked, which is a big effort given the amount of requests there are for time for Indigenous businesses. We really are looking at seeing how we can highlight the capability and potential of the sector and really try to support industry in identifying the strategies that they could use to really unlock those procurement opportunities within their supply chain. One of the areas that we hear most from traditional owner and other Indigenous organisations is we want to be part of the supply chain, and we feel like we're missing those opportunities. So for us, there's often a lot of focus on the Indigenous business capability development, but we'll also, one thing that I'm hoping we'll be able to look at is the industry and the government capability development to really make those opportunities available and think of it not just as a procurement opportunity, but as a long-term commitment to engagement and partnership. Now back to you on the atlases, Beck.
Yes, so there are a few atlases being put together, and they all sort of work in tandem, I suppose. One atlas is for sites, potential sites for renewable energy generation. Another is on water and where to get it. And the project that I'm working on is the Atlas of Post-Mining Futures, which is a world-first atlas of world-leading places that have been turned from mines into something else, based on the 102 things to do with a hole in the ground. So we have a pilot, we have 12 stories up at the moment. It's being tested by our advisory group, and we're hopefully launching soon. So keep an eye out on that. So some closing remarks. Annual forum that I'm helping organize. Yes, many of you may have received an invitation to it. If you haven't and you'd like to come along, please put it in the chat if you like, and I'll get in touch with you, or email me or any of us. We're coming to Adelaide, so we are working together with the Society for Ecological Restoration Australasia Conference, CERA. They're holding their conference in Adelaide from the 19th of October to the 21st. On their last day, we begin our annual forum in one of their streams so that we have some really good integration with ecological folks as well, with, of course, restoration. So ours begins on the 21st of October and then goes to the 22nd of October for our second day, and then we have some closed working sessions on the Friday with our project leaders and so forth. Also down there in pink is the Australasian Coastal Restoration Network Symposium. So if there are any sea country folks here, you might be particularly interested in that as well. So Wednesday 21st will be in Adelaide CBD with CERA. Thursday 22nd will be in Adelaide Hills, beautiful country there. And yes, please register to secure your place. If you'd like to come along and you're not a partner of CRC Time, just yell out and we'll arrange a ticket for you. So yeah, lots of events coming up. Some of these Northern Australia, some of these not. The first one up the top is us today. And we've got lots of webinars and conferences and briefings and so forth. So that's there's a lot of activity, and the team will be all over the country for some of these. Anything that anyone wants to pull out, or it's just for you to know we're sending these slides out afterwards?
Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it before we wrap up, I suppose. But the other part is below there. We've got some appendices around, I guess, some of the topics that we've discussed around regional knowledge exchange that are commencing soon. And then just giving an example of some of them that are in development. And then so there's some just one page fact sheets just giving you a bit of scope, the deliverables, the duration of the project, and who the partners are, etc. But then on top of that, further down below, there's also I guess a slide that has some of the links to some of the projects that Beck and myself and Gillian have mentioned. So, you know, rather than going through, you can go through this, which will be circulated in the next couple of days as well to everyone. Other than that, they're also available obviously on our website, but this might be a quicker way of doing it, and you can just focus in on what you're actually interested in and tap into those links there. But other than that,
that's been a lot of information. So yeah, we're going to open up to 20 questions. If you're shy and you want to write it in the chat, go ahead, no worries. If you'd like to use your voice, raise your hand and we'll unmute you. Yeah, just consider anything that you might want different or new. Someone's unmuted. Oh, that's you, Gillian.
Yeah, so I think I just wanted to, I think we've got quite a number of, so Harry's mentioned that he's excited or interested in the Darwin Symposium, and that will really be a really great next step from the AusIMM and CRC, can't even say our name, CRC time peer milieu workshop that we had last year. One thing that we did just want to highlight is that this is just an opportunity, and we're hoping to have these in a bit more often, more as a knowledge sharing opportunity, and it was a bit of a test. So thank you so much to everyone for putting time in. If you do have questions, I'll bow out now and leave to, also will be listening, but I'll leave to you and Gowan. But it's been really great just to see the incredible work that's underway with our partners across Northern Australia, and it's great to have you in Darwin, Beck, this week, and Gowan as part of our team in Darwin every day.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
Great.
And yeah, if they like Gillian's saying, if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. If there's not out of session, our details are available, which will be coming through with the documentation shortly. Feel free to just give us a call anytime. Happy to have a chat. And or meet in Darwin if you're through here, or through MS Teams or any other form that you want to come through via emails or phone calls. Just give us a call anytime.
Great. We'll let you peruse through all that after we send it through. But thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon if it's afternoon where you are. Thanks, everyone.